Hey everybody, it's me, Robert, coming at you with an exciting update. So you know that personal, the position paper for your project that you've been working on? I've modified it a little bit to account for time and distance and things like that. You're not going to need to write a specific paper anymore, but you're still going to want to do a detailed assignment on it. The instructions for it are online on Moodle in a PDF. The instructions are pretty detailed, so look through all of them, and there's a little bit of an example of what I want or what I expect out of it, out of your assignment, and a little bit of example of also what I don't expect. Basically what I want you to do is you're going to provide to me your research, your arguments, your information in an organized fashion, but not necessarily in paper form. Okay? One way that you can do this is through a type of outline. I've given an example of what I mean by outline on the paper, or on the instruction sheet, but I do want to go over verbally also. Outline does not mean you have a one dot intro and then underneath intro maybe a parentheses thing. I'll just go with my example under universal healthcare. Universal healthcare. B, costs of it, and then maybe point 2. Universal healthcare compared to other nations. A. Compared cost to France. B. Compared cost to Spain. C. How much we pay here. So a lot of people, when they think of outlines, especially like to think about outlines and how they did them in high school, or how a lot of people did in high school. I'm not sure. How people did them in high school, which was something, it was more of a organization of topics, not an outline of the information. And what I want you to do is outline your information, the information that you have. You want to make sure you provide all of your evidence in there. So on the sheet of paper here, I have on the instruction sheet, the first thing I do, what I want all y'all to include at the beginning, is a thesis statement. Sort of, what am I going to be seeing underneath? What are you arguing? I provide a thesis statement here. America must adopt a single-payer universal health insurance system to control healthcare costs, extend health care to every single American, increase business flexibility and expansion, provide safety and security to all Americans from illness, and to boost economic growth through the increased productivity that comes with better health. Kind of a thesis statement there that sort of includes the various points that I'm going to make, why this position is good. Okay, so then on the outline I have my first point: single-payer health insurance system controls costs. Then I have underneath it a dash, and I give like a specific fact or a specific, clear and understandable argument. And what I mean kind of by understandable argument is that I can easily connect it to, or see how it connects to the sort of topic argument there, or the topic, the subtopic, I guess. A single-payer health insurance system controls costs. I say the first thing I say is, if the government's the sole provider of health insurance, it can better negotiate with doctors and hospitals for the lowest price possible. Make that argument there. And then the next thing, so that would be, if I'm writing a paper, that would be one of the main points I would make. The next main point I would make would be about how other countries have a universal health insurance system, pay about half the amount of the United States, but with the same health outcome. If that makes sense. So I wrote out in a complete sentence, and I probably want to give a little more specifics than what I have on there. Other countries with universal health insurance programs spend half as much as the U.S. does with better outcomes. So we know that this system can work in controlling costs. I've then connected it back to the statement and connected it back to why it matters on the controlling cost thing and why that's a good argument. You're not just saying it controls costs and other countries do it and it's cheaper. Just sort of like clinch it there at the end and say, so we know that the system can control costs. And then you may want to say, if you're doing this, something like, France spends $7,000 per person per year on health care, and the United States spends $12,000 per person. I think that's a figure, something close to a figure. Then I have a second point and a third point, etc. Another here really crucial thing, really crucial thing that you want to include are some counter arguments. Think you're making an argument to me, I'm going to argue back at you. I'm going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to try and debunk your ideas. What you want to do is anticipate the things that I'm going to bring up to debunk your ideas, and you're going to address them before I can try and debunk you. So, again, with this health insurance example that I provided, I just give one quick counter-argument. I say, counter-argument, universal health insurance would lead to rationing care. What you want to do in any paper when you're talking about counter-arguments, when you're addressing other people's claims, is to give those claims a fair shake. Give them a fair hearing. Present those arguments in the best light possible. So then, when you sort of counter that argument, when you beat that argument with your awesome information and logic, you've really done a good job and your argument is so much more convincing. If I said, conservatives argue that health insurance would lead to rationing care just like Hitler and the Nazis. I don't know. That's not giving that argument, giving that position a very fair hearing. If I were to say something like, conservatives argue, I actually do sometimes say this, but it's not true, I think, what they really mean. Conservatives argue that a universal health insurance program would lead to rationing care, so people who have brain tumors won't be able to get operations anymore at all. Conservatives generally don't argue that. What you do actually see argued is that somebody with a brain tumor may have to wait 6 months to get surgery, or somebody may die while they're waiting for surgery or something like that. Not that just nobody ever gets a brain tumor removed ever again. So I would take that argument, present a solid, present the case for that as if I was making the case myself. It would lead to rationing care. More people would have access to a health insurance system, which would certainly put strain on the health insurance or the healthcare system as more people use it. And so some would argue that it makes sense, or you may say a specific person. So, as Ben Carson argues, it makes sense that the only way we can can't actually expand the amount of healthcare we provide. It's just that with more people who have insurance, that same amount of healthcare is going to be spread a lot thinner among all people. Then I've given it a good, fair argument. Now I can debunk it by saying the evidence doesn't support this. Other countries that have universal health insurance have better health outcomes than the United States. They don't have these sort of horror stories of ration care where people are waiting forever to get a brain tumor removed and then they die on an operating table. There are some surgeries that it can sometimes take a little bit longer to get the surgery in than it does in the United States. There is one thing, and Canada doesn't have the best universal health insurance system. But this one story, this is not evidence other than this one thing happened, but this guy had to get a knee replacement, and he had to wait, it's like 9 months for the surgery to get a knee replacement. The counter argument is, in the United States, you would have been able to get that done in a month or 3 months or something like that. Well, yeah, that's certainly true. Of course, then the people take the argument to the next level. This guy has to wait 9 months for knee replacement surgery. That means he would also need to wait 9 months to get the cancer removed from his lungs. Well, that's an illogical leap there. It doesn't make sense, but that's the leap that conservatives often make in cases like this. And the fact is, when you look at these plans, these programs, if you have an immediate need, you get treated immediately, just like you do in the United States. So I would make the good, strong argument in favor of the conservatives, and then I'd come back with my other information about how, well, that's not entirely true, or there's better information out there, things like that. And I also provide another way to look at it. In this case, I say, well, you're talking about rationing care, but we are rationing care right now in the United States. We're just rationing it based upon somebody's income. And the question is, if we're forced into a situation where we have to ration healthcare, is it better to do it based upon someone's income or based upon a need of some kind? Anyway, so look at that stuff. Basically, you're not writing a paper. You're writing in all the main components of the paper, though. You're writing the paper, but without some of the transitions, without some of the connectors. You're making a lot more direct points and connections instead of trying to have stuff flow together. In some cases, you may be able to get away in this outline with more bullet point information, like it costs, we can reduce healthcare costs with the universal health insurance system. Universal health insurance lowers costs overseas. France, $7,000 per person. England, $8,000 per person. United States, $12,000 per person. I want to see the information, I want to see the facts, and really important again, I want to see them logically sort of build on each other. I want to see your argument. Okay, cool. Make sure you have citations. Also for this, because it's not a strict paper thing, you don't need to have you don't need to have double spacing. I want you to make sure you have 12-point font and 1-inch margins in Times New Roman, but you can format the spacing and the lines sort of the way you think makes the most sense. And again, one other thing, this doesn't necessarily have to be an outline. You could write a paragraph sort of on each of your points if you wanted to do that, if that was a better way for you to get the information out there. Just the thing is here, there's in a paper that you need to write. There's not a minimum word limit. I expect you to do a good job on it. Be thorough. I say you probably want to shoot for around, I say on here 900 to 1,000 words, maybe 800 to 1,000 words at most. But there's not a firm minimum. I just expect you to make several points and maybe a couple of counter arguments and be thorough in making a good argument. Okay? Alright. And it'll be due Friday, not Thursday. It'll be due Friday. The last day of class theoretically is Thursday. I'm going to have this due Friday at 11 p.m. Peace out.